This meeting is being recorded.
It's 9. Hi.
Oh, yeah.
Yours is fine.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't hear from John, so I'm expecting he's.
Well, I'm not sure. I know Dave is going to be late, but it is 9 o'clock, so we'll call the meeting to order. Did everyone look over the minutes?
I did. I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Okay. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Meetings are approved. Daryl McDowell. Is Daryl here?
Yeah, I think she doesn't have it. I think she picked it up from up there. That's not ours.
Oh, this is not ours?
I wondered why we started down here.
So I don't think we should allow them to change those setbacks. I don't think that should happen.
It was laying right there, so I grabbed it.
And see, I brought some, but I.
And we never do the minutes right away, so
we
excuse
just
me, everyone,
did.
but we just,
We did. I
we
thought you were
jumped
going
ahead
off topic.
and
I
got
will
them
take that.
approved.
A correct agenda?
I think we have the right one.
You guys.
Yeah.
Review of the financials. So look at the guy who walks in on
And so
cue.
John, you got here just at the right time. It is financial time. Can you just jump right in and give us a report? We'll allow John enough time to get his glasses
Yeah,
on.
give John a little time to take a look. Yeah, we'll come back to that.
Okay, Nick, would you like to come up? Yeah. Okay. I was very confused about that. Just gonna,
I'm Nick Kauk with KCV Cycling, and this is Greg Demopoulos. Greg's one of the co-founders of KCV and the Fat and Skinny Tire Fest. So we are asking for $22,400 to bring back the Fat and Skinny Tire Fest after a 2-year hiatus.
okay.
Any questions?
That's it.
I have 22.9 on here. Is it 22.9 or 22.4?
It's 22.9.
I think it's 22.9.
Yes.
Yes, 22.9.
Okay, that was probably just a typo.
It is actually just a typo.
Okay,
It should be 22.4 because on the itemized, it's 22.4.
Okay.
well, I'm sure your festival has been missed during COVID.
Yeah, we had a mini festival last year. You guys awarded us $15,000 for last year's festival, but we
Yes.
weren't able to have a full festival. So we used just shy of $3,000 for the 2021 festival. It was like 2,900 or 2,000. Yeah, $2,923.42. So we were able to have the county side tour this year, which is one of the events everybody in the community can participate in. So we used as little money as we could to still pull off that event and have something for this year's festival. So we are planning on having the full festival with all the activities that we have had for the last 16 years at the 2022 festival.
Yeah, the challenge we run into is we have to make spending decisions in January and February. And last year at that time, a lot of our sponsors were like, we don't know what's going to happen. We're like, totally understand. let's see what we can do. So it was fat and skinny 16.5. It's basically what we called it. So we're hoping to have the full 17th edition this year, and in talking to vendors and sponsors, the challenge we run into, as everybody knows, the cost of everything has gone up. So it's critical for us to be able to promote this, because after a 2-year hiatus, what we're seeing and hearing from people is that there are less races, but this coming year, more are coming back. And so people are going to be looking for, okay, what are the ones that I recognize, know are put on well? And so we're hoping that, you know, our brand equity is going to help bring some people in, but it costs more to put it on.
Yeah, which
So,
events survived?
Yeah, yep.
Forgetting last year, going back, 16 years, how's your attendance been? Has it been
So,
steady or up?
2019 was a record year.
Was that a record?
So a couple of the events, so the Critical Mass ride, the community ride that goes from Trail House in the village to downtown Warsaw for kind of the kickoff night. We jumped from our record number of 580 participants to over 800. And then all our road racing events were sold out. We had to cap our size because you can't have a huge field size on some of the races, because like the course going around the island, it's just not safe to have more than 50, 60 racers going around there.
At a time.
At a time, yeah. So we capped out at over 350 participants, which was every single day, because we put on a race Friday night, downtown, Saturday, Sunday. So close to 900 racers, you know, participating just for that. Record numbers for the mountain bike race, tour numbers were up. So 2019 was a great year.
Yeah, this year's mountain bike race, we did have the mountain bike race too, the Nemo mountain bike race as a part of the Fat and Skinny 16.5, and that was a record year for all Fat and Skinnies for register
People
participants.
could do something. So, and the big thing with the festival, as you guys know, is it's what we put that on to bring people into the community to see, but vice versa, it's also to showcase what we can do with bicycling and the greenways and the trails and those kinds of things. So, yeah, it's
So, and when would you need this money?
What's that?
When would you need the money?
It's a reimbursement grant, so.
Right.
We would
I'm trying to
have
find the
pay for.
date, so,
Yeah, we would have to pay for everything, so after the festival is over in May, we would
Okay.
turn everything in.
all right, so,
Yeah, usually,
It's a
I
great
think
event.
it's usually around middle of June to July is when we get all the receipts finalized and we turn
Okay.
everything back in. This year was a little bit easier because we only had 1.5 at 2 events, so I think we got ours in pretty early, middle of June this year, so.
And I would
Here's the
add,
date.
you know, I think it is a great event, and Nick has done a good job in the past on, hey, we've requested the money, we didn't spend it, those kind of things.
Yeah,
So I
he even
think
gave it back.
being a good steward with the fund. So I
Yes.
would make a motion, unless we want more discussion on approving the grant as presented.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
You're
Hope to see you
welcome.
guys.
Motion passed.
We'll leave at Trail House on Friday, May 20th, so I hope to see all you guys there for the Critical Mass ride.
Take 3-wheelers?
We do. We take all forms of bicycles.
I'll go in your basket.
Good luck.
And get a
And
walker.
if you guys have a motorcycle, you can probably talk to the police and ask them if that you want to be one of their escorts, so.
Oh, that'd be great. Do you want to do financial?
Yeah, I
or
can
should
do
we-
financial.
Okay.
Okay, I think you all received these by way of the internet, but we're doing great. We always compare back to 19 because 20 certainly was a disastrous year. But in October of 2019, we had taken in 607,000, and this year we've taken in 654,000. So we're up around 40,000. But the key to this thing, I think, is what the state's collecting for them. You know, they collected 28,000 and that year 10,000. So that's been the key to our success, I think, is what the state has done for us. So we're doing fine there, and I think we're up to date on collections that I can see, so everybody's paying their bill. We still have $37,000 left for 2021 grants, and looking over, most of them have been paid. I'm not sure what's going on with the wagon wheel. We owe them.
Just got it.
Did we just get, I've been on them a couple times about that. Okay, so, and then the other one is the kayaks of Warsaw, but I read in the paper where
That's
that's
in the
being
paper, that's
delayed
coming.
till next year because of,
Right.
it's just not done yet, so. And then there's a remaining 2020 grants of around $8,000, and I think those would probably be written off.
They fall off the end of this year.
Yeah, off the
correct?
year, it
Michelle,
comes
isn't that
off
what we have?
automatically, and
If
so-
they haven't requested it by the end of the next calendar year, it's
It's gonna be dead.
correct.
Okay. Okay, so our cash investments, we started out the first year $642,000, and we paid out $399, so we have an ending, and taken in $656, so we have an ending balance of close to $900,000 as of October 31st, so I guess we have some money to give away.
The only thing that's not on there is the fourth quarter.
Oh, fourth quarter for the
CVB.
CVB.
So that'll reduce that balance.
Yeah, that's right. But outside that, we're doing pretty good, so. Anyway, that's the financials. Any questions?
Well,
I don't know.
I don't have any questions. I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Motion passed.
I'm the motion man.
You are the motion man. You're making it happen.
I'm inserting eye roll.
Put that eye roll on there.
Okay, Chad.
Good morning, everyone. How are you? Chad
morning.
Briscoe, Director of Athletics at Grace, coming today with our update from the NCCA National Christian College Athletic Association Basketball Championships that we are blessed to host here in our community each March. Our dates for 2022 will be the 15th through the 19th. Just a quick backstory, as you know, we'll have 16 college teams from across the country will come in during the most wonderful peak time when it is nice and sunny, the middle of March. And we'll spend hopefully a lot of dollars in our community competing for 2 national championships. Again, a little bit of history with it. The beautiful thing about this tournament is that the teams that come to our community, they stay in our community. It's not a system where you lose and you go home after day 1. All of these teams stay here, so we know that they're going to have heads and beds and restaurants for at least 5 days consecutively, which we're very thankful for. The teams come in and do a service project in the community. The last 2 years, because of COVID, unfortunately, we've not been able to get into the elementary schools with the teams, but we're hopeful this year that we're going to be able to do so. We've asked, of course, each year, basically the same amount, $5,000, which helps us with all of our marketing for it throughout the course of the year. However, one thing which is always, I appreciate from you all, the question that comes back is that, do we have any numbers that we can actually kind of put some meat to? You know what? I'm very excited today. Santa Claus came and I can give you guys some numbers. So we work with, as you know, with Jill and what is called the Indiana Sports Corp sports calendar, or also calculators, they call it. And so we've been working with Jill to get this kind of put together. We went through training for it with the Indiana Sports Corp in Indianapolis. And so we're able to give back some numbers. So that was in the packet. I don't know if you have a copy of it or not, but was able to bring a couple of copies for it. And of course, last year in our down year with COVID, we were restricted with the number of people we could actually put in the stands. And so looking at our calculator from this past year, from 17 to 20 of 2021, overall estimated economic impact over $300,000 with the 5-day tournament in our community. So it's one of the small things now that I'm grateful to be able to give you some numbers, and this will be kind of ongoing for us the next couple of years that we're able to hopefully build on this. But we're very thankful that the NCCA has allowed us to continue our bid process to host the national championship here. And we're in the second year of a 4-year bid process. We have the tournament through 2024. So we're very excited for the upcoming year, and the COVID procedures continue to diminish a little bit, which we're very thankful for. So hopefully we'll be able to put a lot of people in the seats, a lot of heads and beds come March of 2022. So thank you for the opportunity to present today.
Okay, any questions? Any discussion?
Like a motion?
Pardon me?
You want a motion?
Joan looks like she's gonna ask a question.
Joe's going to.
Joe, by the way, yes, ma'am.
So, according to this breakdown,
Yes.
it looks to me
Uh-huh.
that you have $37,000 available to you if we also give you $5,000, and your expenses are only estimated at $20,000.
That was from this last year. The net income of that came in was 37,000. The total expense is 28, but our income was only 27. Yeah, the 37 on top of that was the 5,000 that came in. We were blessed with the Indiana Sports Corp for the first time, gave us the 5,000, and then of course the 5,000 that came in from you from last year.
So you're not sitting with extra money from the sponsors of the last.
No, that is correct. No, that is correct. It's just was the total amount that came in that was spent. The 28,000 were our total expenses in the sponsorship. And from year to year, the one thing that we always mention is that I can't guarantee what my gate dollars are going to be because I have no idea what teams are coming. So every year it could be a team from maybe from California. We always hope for, as Kathy knows, regional teams for our hotels. Is that if I have a team from say Ohio, Michigan, or Illinois, they're going to bring more parents than a team from California or maybe a team from Texas. And so that always helps. But from year to year, it's kind of a gauging. We have no idea what that looks like. And then also this year, I'll be very transparent too, as we know, with everything with COVID, I don't know what our sponsorship dollars will look like this year. Some of our sponsors may need to either step aside because of COVID or might not be able to give as much as they have in the past. So it's always one of those, everything every year, you never know exactly what's going to come in based on the number of teams that come in, where they come from.
The tournament signs,
Yes, ma'am.
those can't be reused, right?
Some of them can, yes, ma'am.
Some
We
can.
try to do some where we don't put the year on it or the dates. So
Okay,
that way we
good.
can try to reuse in year. So not all of them are reused, but some are. So
Okay, good.
some specific with the dates, some with not.
I was just thinking that would be one way that you
Yes,
can
it
save
is.
some
It is.
advertising dollars.
It sure is, yes, ma'am. And then other different ways of where we could actually put those dollars as well with other things, whether it be trying to reach out to Whitley County, Fort Wayne, even trying to get people to come over. But then once we find out the teams and where they come from, we try to reach out to the areas where they're coming from to put something
Right.
to draw people in from, say, if they're coming from, let's just say Cedarville, Ohio, then trying to reach out to their area to see if there's ways to market with them to bring
Okay,
people from
good.
Cedarville.
That's good.
Yes. And again, the great thing with this is just the simple fact that these teams come and they stay for the 5 days is what we're very thankful for, is that they're able to stay for a significant amount of time.
You probably see a lot of teams.
I had 40 room nights for 5 nights last year. So 200
40?
room nights. Mhm.
That's a lot
40
of
rooms. That's half my
hotels.
occupancy. So, hoping to have that again this year.
Yes, we are.
So I'm going to just, as a matter for all of the rest to know, because I see the receipts
Yeah.
come in, your
Yeah.
expenses.
Yes, ma'am.
And so, like this past year, what we paid, it was more $3,000 was marketing dollars, and then there was like 2,000 or so over in these signs.
Right, in the signs, yes. Mhm.
And so, I just want us to realize what we're doing and if that's what we're all believing we're spending our money on,
Advertising.
advertising versus other, just, because these other
Sure.
signs are just going around the campus and. things
And around
like that.
town, different areas, yes, to try to bring people in. Mhm.
I'll make a motion to approve the grant for 5,000.
Second.
I'd rather see it at like 3,
Well,
so that it's covering marketing dollars versus other things.
So we're having our discussion.
Yes, we are.
So we made a motion and got a second. Now we're discussing.
Yes, I moved right ahead.
You did.
She's quick like that.
So the only thing I can say with that, Joe, is if you look at the total dollars, we beat up on Chad for years to get us numbers. We have numbers. The dollars that come back beyond the good that's in for the community for $5,000 versus 3, I think there's a positive. Even me, the number cruncher, is saying it's not just about the numbers in this case. I think it's about the benefit that the community receives as a result of the tournament. So these teams, now granted, last year we couldn't have it, right? They couldn't get out and do the things that they do, but how do you put a number on that? And to me, the difference between 3 and 5, that $2,000, I just think is minimal for the benefit that the community receives out of it, beyond the hotel stays, beyond the restaurants that these folks are out and spending while they're here. It's a good thing for us on the national stage. Granted, it's Christian college, it's not D1, we're not bringing in Krzyzewski and, all the big names, but it's a significant impact to the community, for the good that's for the community, so.
This past year, 4 of the main national championships, 3 of them were held in the state of Indiana. NCAA Division I was held in Indianapolis, the D2 was held in Evansville, D3 was 2 have been held in Fort Wayne, and we host the National Christian College here. So 3 of the 4 were held in the state of Indiana. So it's very prestigious for our community to host it. And also, I'd say if you go back and look at our history of our spending the last couple of years, is the fact that being a good steward, we've not always spent the $5,000 as well. If you go back and look at our numbers, so there's been some years where we've spent less than the $5,000 that we've been granted in the past.
So if the discussion's over, I guess we take a vote, and if it doesn't fail, if it fails, then we'll redo. How's that?
It's a deal.
Okay.
So, Madam President, call a vote.
Let's vote again. We've got a motion,
Second,
And second.
for 5,000, full amount.
5,000. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good.
Motion passed.
Thank you so much. Great to be with you all this morning.
Good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Alex. And Nate.
And they-
And Abby.
Okay.
Abby.
Whoever wants to come from Grace College, you're all welcome.
All right, we've got a few things to pass out first.
Thanks, Nate.
I know now. Let's do my note. Thank you.
I did, but
Thank you.
I actually have a Wabasee one at home.
Slack. Winona. Oh, you got center? No center. Pretty.
Yeah, give me Walls. Give me Walls. Thank you.
This is classic.
You're very nice.
All right, so we just wanted to give you guys an example of some of our publications, and Abby Logan is here. She's our communications person, public relations person at the Lilly Center. So she put these together, does wonderful work for us, and just wanted to show you. So none of your funding from this past year went towards these publications, but we want to just give them as an example of some of the things that we're doing as we promote lakes in our community, as we make our lakes cleaner, as we promote even beyond our community border about the wonderful lakes that we have here, and impress people with those lakes. So
This would come under our operating money?
indirectly, yeah. All right, so just to remind you guys, from 2019 to 2020, we asked for about half as much money in 2020 because your receipts were much lower. You guys have funded in 3 areas, the operations, the Lakes Festival, and clearly Kosciuszko. We're asking you to continue that support in those 3 areas this year, but each of those 3 areas we're asking for less than we did even last year in 2020. As far as the operations go, we're asking for a reduced amount this year. Last year, you granted us $15,000. This year, we're asking for $10,000 in that grant. As far as what you get from this operational funding, and I know we're on sort of a sunset timeline with that going down $5,000 each year. But what you get for that is you keep us around in this community to be able to do things like these publications, to be able to advocate for our lakes, which we feel is our biggest draw for tourism here in Kosciuszko County. So we're excited to continue to do that effort with you all. That's all I was going to say about operations.
So, and I'll make a motion to approve the 10,000. A motion, go ahead and second.
Yeah.
And then our discussion, we had agreed with Nate previously, $5,000 reduction a year. So we're right on track with where we had agreed previously. So that's why I have no problem with the 10,000 this year.
I'll second the motion.
We got it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passed for the 10,000.
All right, and on the second, thank you very much. On the second request for our Lakes Festival, so as you know, we, similar to the Fat and Skinny, as they were talking, we haven't been able to do the Lakes Festival as we intended the last 2 years due to COVID, but behind the scenes, we've been working on a rebranded Lakes Festival in tighter partnership with the city of Warsaw. And we're really excited about working with them on this. We've been working with Stephanie, who's here, and she can chime in with any more specific questions that you might have. And you all have still helped with some of that new branding from some of your past support of us. So the way this is going to work going forward in this collaborative effort is the Lilly Center will stick to what we know the best, which is the lakes, education of the lakes, stewardship of the lakes. The city will stick with what they know best, which is entertainment and concerts and putting on a big party, right? And so we're excited to work with them. Another thing we were just talking about even just this morning is one of the things we're so excited about is the Lakes Festival is a free event. And so there's no barriers for our community members or visitors to our community to be able to take part in this festival. And we want people to experience the lake, the lakes that we have in this community. And so we're really excited about that. And so we're putting our efforts in the most successful parts of the festival. We love this synergy with the city, linking their Blues Festival with the Lakes Festival. Having it in July, which is sort of the climax of the whole summer here with our lakes season. And Alex has been working a lot with Stephanie and also with Larry, the park superintendent. They've already had lots of meetings about getting ready for 2022. And so we would like to ask you guys to be a part of that and grant us $9,000 towards the Lakes Festival for 2022.
Can you explain to us where all, I know it'll be at Center Lake.
Mm-hmm.
Is it going to be downtown also? When you talk about the city, is there going to be activities throughout the downtown?
Yeah, I'll bring Alex in. That's not our focus. Our focus is to try to focus the event in there.
Well, maybe we need, is it Stephanie? Would you like to come up and kind of explain your end of the festival?
Yes, we will be holding this event at Central Park.
Okay.
So we will be using the main stage there for the concerts.
Okay.
I've already booked most of them for next year. And then just bringing other things into that. So we want it to look completely different than any other event we do. And keeping it free is very important to us. So.
Well, we would love nothing better to have a huge festival in Warsaw. So
we're ready.
Yeah, the more you can bring in and the bigger and the better that it can be.
Yeah, and I think just keeping it free is something that's very important right now. You know, looking at my budget, things have gone up and it's hard to bring a lot of these acts or other parts of this to Warsaw with, you know, the price of everything. And I think a lot of families will come to it because we are not going to charge anything for them to be there. So,
have you thought about like art vendors? We only have Winona,
right.
which is a juried art fair.
Right.
But you could think of more along the craftsmanship type You know, that you wouldn't
Absolutely,
have
that's
to jury?
That's not anything we've looked at so far,
Okay.
but I'm not against that at all.
I think people would love that. You know, it's kind of like a blueberry
Right.
festival feel.
Yeah,
No, we really want to, if we're going to do this, we want to do it big. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
So,
Okay, that's something that Larry and I and Alex can definitely talk about. We can add as much as we want.
yeah.
So,
So weren't you planning sand volleyball in this downtown 2 years ago?
Yes, that, the way to execute that takes many days and is very expensive to ship in the sand to do that. We also had a dedicated staff member for the Lakes Festival at that time that could have put that time towards that, but it's tens of thousands of dollars to just set it up.
Oh,
Yeah,
So that's a no.
yes,
So,
correct.
as it relates specifically to this grant, in the amount requested from us has got 4,000 for entertainment. What type of entertainment? Where's that coming from us versus the city, and what's that interaction?
Yeah, so the entertainment are the concerts.
Right.
That would be the biggest expense there.
yes. And a lot of the bands that I've talked to are charging anywhere from $200 to $400 more for 2022 than they did in the past.
So just so I understand the mix, then the city's paying for some, and then this.
Absolutely, yeah.
So what's the total budget for entertainment for the entire festival then, between the two?
Well, for concerts, it's at about $15,000.
Okay.
And I'm finding that to even be maybe a little bit lower of what it's going to cost us. So.
Because that was my only question. I mean, we've got activities for kids and, you know, and advertising, those definitely fall in there, but then the
Right.
entertainment piece,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because when you were running it, you had that smaller stage by the lake.
Right.
So are we just talking about the big concert at the Glover facility?
We are
Or
going to
still
have
doing-
all 5 of those at Glover.
Okay, so there'll be nothing at the beach to wait.
So the setup that we are still working on would be a whole afternoon of concerts. So before, we just had maybe 2 or 3 from 6 to 10. The city is working on, Stephanie's working on having all concerts all afternoon to
Okay.
get a big
At
draw
Glover.
of people.
Yes, starting at noon,
Okay.
and then the headliner would be at 8 o'clock.
great.
And then the connection to the beach would be food vendors, just like we've always had, arts and crafts in an in-between time, and then working over towards Canal Street, then the education vendors would be near inflatables, closer to the beach. So it would still be a unified, connected event from the stage to the beach.
And then you work on weather conditions or cancellations so that you're protected, don't you? Because that was always one of our concerns,
Right.
events getting canceled.
Yeah, Larry and I talked about that, and because there's so many different bands, usually we get the event insurance when we're having a concert that's like $35,000. So that was something that, as I'm moving forward, you know, with booking these bands, they're okay with the rider that I put into place, you know, where if they are already coming to Warsaw or they've unloaded their equipment, you know, and we have to cancel, they would be paid at half. If we contact them before they've even come, then they understand that they would not be paid for that event.
Oh, that's good.
And that same rider would reflect here with this grant that we're
Yes,
talking
I've already
about?
put that rider into
Okay.
place, and all of them know that up front.
Good.
Good. Yeah,
So
that's-
signing that contract, they would know that they would not be paid if there was a weather event.
So is there any prepayment as far as a reservation goes to these bands?
I have
So
not.
they're
had to
doing
put
it
in.
on,
Yeah,
we're coming, okay.
yeah, yeah. No one's required a deposit, so
Well, I'm excited that it's going to be bigger.
it is going to be.
Can any of those, is the pavilion available for some of those events if it were to get?
At this point, we have not looked at using the pavilion. You know, at the Parks Department, our staff is pretty small too. I have an assistant, and then we don't even know who our summer rec staff is yet. I'm looking at bringing 3 of those in, you know, to help with things over the summer. But, just finding that staff is going to be something else that we have to do yet too. So we just want to make sure that we have the staff to cover that event and do it well with what we have. So probably starting in February, we will be looking at hiring that rec staff for the summer. So.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve the grant as presented.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Good luck.
Thank you.
I want it to be out of the park.
No pun intended.
No pun intended.
Well, it's at the park, so.
I know, that's,
And we will make it great. We're working together and doing the best that we can with
Good.
what staff we
Great.
have and the funds. So,
thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Stephanie. All right. And last up, we have clearly Kosciuszko. We're asking for $5,715. This is a reduced grant amount from last year. We're focusing in on the most critical impacts for our county here and proven strategies, which is working with our partners primarily through social media. And Alex and Abby have been working most closely on this project, and so I don't want to say anything wrong, so I'm going to ask Alex to say a few more words about the project.
Yes, so we are in year 5 of Clearly Kosciuszko. We keep seeing traction on social media and in the community. I don't know if you've noticed, but we do have road signs up. Those signs I showed you last November. There's one over by Bixler Park and one in front of the Chamber of Commerce on 15 as you go through town. I've given also one to the town of Mentone, and the sign person there has it. I think he's going to put it up on their town of Mentone sign next to the egg. So we're excited about those developments. We've also been working really closely with our partners, Jill, the CVB and KEDCO and the Chamber, and of course our staff at the Lilly Center to figure out the next steps and what's the most effective. So we really wanted to hone in on some things last year. One thing that we didn't even put in our grant last year was a Clearly Kosciuszko campaign week, where Abby designed some header things for social media, some posts for people to share where we boosted posts on social media and actually had our members change their Facebook pages so we could see that unified effort in the community of Clearly Kosciuszko and this brand to bring our community together under this brand. One of the interesting things we found from that was that when we make the business the asset and they're using the brand to communicate things about what they offer to the community, it really takes off. So we saw a lot of traction on our social media and website through that. So this year in this grant request, we want to leverage that success. So focus on the effective online presence by having a graphic designer actually design unified posts and graphics that we can use throughout the summer. And then we also want to create a video so that businesses can see what the purpose is of signing up. Video is a very effective way, as you all know, to communicate the message that you want to get across. So, one of the things that was very reaffirming was the Indiana Destination Development Corporation meeting that Joe and I went to. I don't know if you are all aware, but they're working at the state level to create something for the state that is similar to Clearly Kosciuszko in Pure, Michigan, a brand that promotes a community or a state or a county. So they are doing the exact same thing we're doing for Clearly Kosciuszko, which is really reaffirming that we're on the right track. I just think we need to continue to work at the businesses to get them to use the message so that we can continue to build that traction. So in this grant, we have some of the regular items, the things to give to the businesses to promote Clearly Kosciuszko, but we also have some other things to work on that social media effort. as well as revamping the Lakes Guide covers, which that Lakes Guide has clearly Kosciuszko branding and advertisements in it, and it's distributed to over 10,000 people every year. So those are our efforts that we're planning for this year included in this request.
What kind of numbers do you have on social media as far as activity engagement?
Right, yep. So like I said, once we can get the businesses to share the information, that's when we see the real traction. So during that, that 1 week alone, we had over 6,500 unique visitors because we actually had them changing their header on Facebook or resharing posts, and we were boosting posts. Of those 6,500 unique visitors, 4,200 of them were through people actually sharing. It wasn't through paid advertisement. And we also grew our Facebook page by 5% just in 5 days. So that's where we see the real traction, is when it gets used. Throughout the year, we have a few hundred people a month on that go to our website. The website, as we mentioned last year, being designed to send them to Jill or KEDCO or the Chamber, the Lilly Center's websites.
So currently, I was on the website for a while last night. At that point, it was, I think, 24 members or so. But you were talking about 10 or 12, maybe more would be coming on. And it's free to them, so I'm always surprised that there isn't more buy-in.
Right. Yes, so that's one of the things that we have planned is Abby came up with that good sentiment of don't wait for the businesses to start using the brand, because at the Lilly Center, this is a little bit tangential to our mission, but it helps promote the lakes, and we use it to promote the lakes. So actually creating something that even if they're not a licensee, like a window cling with a QR code, that we would just ask businesses to put out, even if they're not a licensee. And then that way it would drive the foot traffic to the website to learn more over time. But again, not waiting for them to sign up to be a licensee, and then also reminding them, use the brand, use the brand. Something that we can put up there that's just automatic.
Because I'm just wondering, do you ask people why they don't want, we're in, as you said, year 5, why there isn't more buy-in? I'm just, there's no charge. I'm just wondering if the effort.
Right. That's a wonderful question. As you heard Elaine say at that meeting, they've already identified that that's going to be even the challenge at the state level when they're considering licensing it out or not. I think right now we do have some good traction with KEDCO doing the Clearly Kosciuszko podcast. There's a group that's not even a member yet that they hashtag all of their posts on social media, that Farmhouse Kitchen and Catering up by Dewart Lake. So I think that there will be a tipping point at which that it'll catch on and people will see that there's something to be proud of here in this brand and getting behind it and using it to be proud of the community.
I think the real quick, why? Why? Why use the brand? I mean, I think that's what people are going to struggle with. And once that happens, here's the why. So I would think promotionally, that's what needs to be pushed out is here's why using the brand is a good benefit to you. It's free, sign up, do it. What's the benefit to me? Right? If I'm a business owner, which I am, what's the benefit to me to use Clearly Kosciuszko? What's that do for me?
And what does it do for you, Mark?
I don't know.
I just don't see.
Okay,
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's where I'm somebody who's involved with this. We know it exists. And I'm sitting there going, what's it do for me? Right? Now, granted, it's not all self-serving, but as a business owner, it's self-serving, right? We're in business for a reason. Yeah, to help people, those kind of things, but ultimately it needs to be a profitable business. So what can the brand bring to the table that would help me? And I think that's maybe the perspective.
Why don't you maybe answer that question?
Yeah. And beyond answering it to me, promote that to businesses. Is what I'm getting to.
Kosciuszko County, as you all know, is unique in the number of lakes that we have, but not only that, what the lakes offer to the community in terms of bringing people here that then develops other parts of industry and offerings and things for families to do, things for visitors to do. So by connecting whatever your offering is at the individual business with that message of clearly Kosciuszko and what the county has to offer shows what part you play in that story.
Sure.
Yeah, and then, so that's,
And I think that's the message that needs to get out to more businesses. And then you'll see more folks.
Well, I guess that's what I'm
Jumping
trying
on.
to figure out. If we've been working at this for 5 years, at what point do we say something's missing or we're not giving it enough effort or money? It just seems like we're not, and I'm sure it looks nice. I mean, the website looks great and all
It does,
that.
it's great.
But, you know, I'm just
Yeah, and
asking.
I'm just not seeing the numbers of hashtags on the Instagram page. I just keep looking at it and it just doesn't grow. So somehow we need to get people to hashtag that.
right.
It sounds like that's part of the plan for next year, correct? I'm not
Yeah.
reading into that, I'm not putting words in your mouth. That's
No,
what this
no, and
promotion
that
is
video and then that,
Right.
that window cling, creating more of that visual presence in the businesses and then the video to show people why they can use it for their business
Right.
or how they can.
And obviously for what I do, it's an important piece, right? Selling
Absolutely.
lake homes,
That's what I
it's an
was
important
thinking,
piece.
yeah.
And I don't use it. Why? Because I've got a bazillion other things I'm doing along the way. So it needs to be easy for me to utilize. And another hashtag, I hashtag the bejesus out of everything
Yes,
I
you
put
do.
out there.
Every
Right?
Facebook
But
post.
I just gotta add one more hashtag to it. So, you know, it's just one more thing. And I just have to get used to that, to put that after anything that I do.
Well, a lot of people put a lot of different hashtags, but Jill, if I could ask you, do you think, I mean, and I don't mean to put you on the spot right now with everybody, but in your opinion, do you think that it's too much? Like, are they going to the CVB, hashtagging CVB or looking at that?
Well, thank you for asking. We support clearly Kosciuszko.
I know you do.
Yeah, regardless of our partners that were in it. I've always been an advocate, a collaborator in any way anyone can find Kosciuszko County to visit here, work here, live here is a bonus. And we're all working together. What clearly Kosciuszko means to us, when we use it in our guide, we use the back section on clearly Kosciuszko, it implies choice. So it is a secondary message to our brand, if you will, that encompasses greater things that just my brand and my mission would do for our community, for quality of place, for growth. So the more businesses that can jump on and get that bigger picture working together, you bet they're doing that here in Michigan. And you don't give up on a brand. $5,000 is nothing to put behind a brand. In my opinion, it should be 10 or 15,000 if we want this to grow. Have more people help them, and I'm steering it. It could be big, but 5,000 behind a brand, I don't think it's significant. It helps them in what we're trying to do, but it takes time to grow a brand. We're still working on ours. You know, you ask any business, every day you are working to push that out. So if we want to be collective on it, I think that's what we need to do. And again, the whys, I bought into the why, it's helped enhance our efforts. On our website, I think we can do better at it. I liked hearing about some new graphics for our social media. The majority of the followers in our 13,000 on Facebook are out of county, so we can do a big part in helping that message a little bit. And then it's up to us to work on that secondary message or primary message on merging it with our business and our efforts. And they're really helpful at doing that for us. So
Are we also,
I'm an advocate of getting more behind it, so I'm not sure if I'm helping more.
when you're
No,
out
it
in the
does help.
community, when you're out in the community and you're talking with people and you're shaking hands and you're meeting people, are we talking about it? Is it verbiage that we're talking about out there, the brand? Or is it just, you know, electronic that we're promoting it?
I know that we do.
Okay.
I would hope, I hear them loud and clear trying to do it and advocate for doing that. Obviously, the other economic development organizations in the county, the chambers, and KEDCO, I'm
But when like
They-
when you're delivering that, your moments book, maybe you're incorporating and having that conversation, when you're giving those that we give out to people, you're having the conversations of, take a look at the brand, and explaining what that is and what the benefit is. Because I know myself personally, when I'm out on sales or it's a lot more with the handshake and the conversation with somebody than electronic. So I mean, it's a mix, but I just was curious if maybe there's a way to, push that out there verbally also.
It's all of it.
Yeah.
How do you get people passionate behind it? And time is a lot of it. Businesses are busy. I rarely do my own ads or my own Facebook. So we're just getting that buy-in, but it takes time and it takes investment for everyone to work.
Thank you.
Yep. So I'll make a motion to approve the grant as presented.
A second it.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Aye.
So, yeah, that's what I'm trying to say too, is there something else we're missing, how to make this more successful?
So, so it sounds like you've got a good plan for this year. Maybe this will be the magic year.
I hope so. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Chuck?
Hi, of course, I'm coming back asking for our next 2 quarter payments, as we discussed when I first asked for funding for the motors, but I did want to give you an update on our season while I was here. What a great season this year. We were actually able to start Memorial Day weekend, which we haven't been able to do that the past few years because weather-related incidents and stuff always held us back until the 2nd or 3rd week of June. So we had a full season this year. We also were able to perform at Indiana Beach this year. I don't know if any of you have seen that or not, but they did a lot of promotion, for our team, which also took in the city of Warsaw, Kosciuszko County. We saw a big boost in our following from that area that we didn't have before. Our crowds this year, we broke records on our crowds this year. It really became apparent this year more than any other year that we are becoming a very big tourist attraction here. And we've had a lot of people that said that. In fact, we had a lot of people from Illinois that came over, people from Michigan that came down to see the show. We even had one family that came from Lexington, Kentucky area, primarily to see our show. They contacted me. Of course, the messages come to me when they contact us through Facebook, and wanted to know about the show. Came up, seen it, loved it, turned around and came back up the next weekend to see our All-Star show, which our All-Star show was, the bookend to to our season. We had over 2,000 people show up for that show, and it was a great show. We did bring in skiers from Team USA. We had Hall of Fame skiers there. So we had a lot of great talent that we brought in for that show, and we pushed that out. We advertised that, and it turned out big for us. So, pretty successful season. All in all, we did host our City of Lakes tournament, which brought teams from Ohio, Michigan in, and then and we're back in the rotation for Central Region tournament, which will be, we'll have that back in 2023. We would have had it in 2022, but COVID threw everything a year off. The team that was scheduled to have it, it got canceled on them, so they get it in 2022, and then we'll get it in 2023. That'll bring in around 7 teams from out of state, and that'll be like the second weekend in July. Friday, we're bidding on the Division I Nationals again. Feel pretty confident this time. Steve Hoblitz will be doing the presenting for our team. He's made a lot of inroads this year. A on the political side of the show ski community, soliciting votes and support. And so we feel pretty confident that we'll get that bid. We did have that tournament in 2019, was very successful, brought a lot of people into the county, and filled every hotel that we had, plus several others. So, fortunately, we got the new hotels in now, and so we should be able to accommodate people even better. So other than that, do you have any questions or anything for me?
Well, why don't you charge admission?
We've discussed that over the years.
Sure you
And there are some teams out there that do that. And I've had in-depth discussions over the years with some of those teams. We seem to do better on donations than charging admission. People seem to be pretty generous.
So you take donations.
So we pass the hat. What we do is we take a short 15-minute pause in the middle of the show, and then we pass the hat.
Okay.
And people seem to be, pretty generous, in that aspect. And one thing that I did want to mention, I left out, our Learn to Ski program, which a lot of people are really interested in. We ended up we did four different clinics this year, and we had over 70 participants in those clinics that we were able to take out and successfully teach them to ski. And that doesn't include some of our team members' family that decided that after seeing their kids involved or their spouses or whatever, that they wanted to learn to ski too, and ended up joining in. So pretty successful on that front.
Do you charge for that?
We charge a $20 fee, and half of that goes to USA Water Ski for insurance. We are governed by USA Water Ski. We have our liability insurance and everything is through them. Everything we do has to be sanctioned through them. We have to fill out all the paperwork and everything. Otherwise, if anything happened, the team and the board members would be liable. And so this way, USA Water Ski takes that liability through an insurance company, so.
Is this the first year you've had lessons?
Pardon me?
Is this the first year you've had lessons?
No, we've done this for years. We've done Learn to Ski at least since 2001, 2002.
Since I
Yeah.
moved here in 2000.
When you were there, we were doing it, so. And every year we try to do 4. And normally, and Mark can vouch for this, back when we first started and back a few years ago, we have to limit it to like 20 participants because of time constraints. I mean, we've got our skiers out there. We have to have people ready to jump in the water. And our skiers spend a lot of time in the water with the littles that come out there to learn. And it wears you out. So we limit it to 20 participants per clinic. And in the past, we'd be lucky if we had 5, 6, maybe 7 people. A good clinic would have been, maybe 10. This year, we had people, we had to turn them away because they got there too late. We were already booked. And that was within 30 minutes of the time registration started. So it's become really popular. So we're trying to look at if there's going to be a need to add maybe another clinic so that we can, get more people in. Shuffling time between shows, practices, tournaments, trying to get that scheduled in there. And then also with travel shows, we've had 2 requests so far in Michigan, one up's as close to UP. I don't know how I'm going to bid that one, but so we're getting a lot of interest. People wanting to see the team and coming in. And when we do a travel show, just like over at Indiana Beach, there's a lot of people that had never seen our team perform. After they seen our team perform, our Facebook likes went up, our crowd increased, a lot from that area. So, you know, it helps draw people in to the county.
Is this a full-time job for you, Chuck? Is this a full-time job for you?
It is a full-time job. You know, we're done with the season, but now I've got other stuff I've got to do. So, and I'll be working all winter on, you know, trying to do fundraising and get other things in order for next season. So, and then of course, you know, we've got to plan a show and we've got a lot to do. So this year's show was Finding Nemo. I don't know if any of you came out and seen it. It was a big hit with the crowd. They loved it. Hopefully we can do as well next year with a new
Because you
theme.
don't have any paid staff, do you? It's all
No,
volunteers.
no, it's all volunteers, 100% volunteer. You know, as a matter of fact, our members pay dues, you know, to be part of it. So,
What did you say, Mark?
Pay to play.
pay to play, yeah. Well, you know, I mean, it's not show skiing is not a cheap sport. When you look at the boats, the costumes, the fuel, all the expenses of upkeep that, you know, on the show site and everything that it takes to perform a show, it's a big expense. And we have some other site improvements we're looking at doing. Hopefully we'll get good news Friday. If we do, on the Division I Nationals tournament, then there's some things that we want to do to upgrade our site, you know, for that as well. So it all takes money. You know.
Speaking of which, you need your other installment.
Yes, I'm asking for 2 quarterly payment installments on the motors that we have financed. And that's a total of $7,703.28. And that will cover this quarter and the first quarter of next year.
So what's your balance on that?
You know, I should have asked Brett before today. Right now, I think we're around 85, between 85 and 90,000.
You still owe on those?
We still owe on those, right, because the total note was just a little over 100,000. I think it was 104,000.
How old are those motors?
Brand new this last spring.
Oh, they're new, okay.
Yeah. Well, I take that back. There was, I think, 3 of them that were used in 2020, so they'd been going on 2 years old.
Oh, okay.
So, but they're all relatively, and it's still under warranty, you know. Evinrude still covers the warranty on them. It's like 10 years, so.
I move we approve this grant.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll let you know what happens Friday.
Yes, good luck.
Thank you.
And I would throw in, it's not related to the dollars, but the team did have some people go down. They just did the chain of records in Florida. I don't know if people saw it on Facebook or not, but they tried to get the largest number of ballet girls.
They had
59
59 ballet line, which is a pending record.
Yeah.
Steve participated in hydrofoil,
Well, 17. I think
17.
they got.
and
Behind one boat.
behind one boat.
Yeah.
That's
And
crazy.
I forget what,
Barefooters, I don't know how many they had.
I
It
don't-
was
I don't remember.
ridiculous. Find it on Facebook. I mean,
yeah,
it's
chain
amazing
of
to see
records.
it.
Look up chain of records
Yeah.
on Facebook.
Yeah, it's amazing to see the numbers. So they've got pending world records with Guinness, and it's clubs from around the nation. They get together to compete to set world records for stuff. So,
Okay, Mike.
Mike with no Carl for the first time.
yeah.
Well, I've got 2 more.
Mike and his entourage.
Hi, I'm Mike Hagee, Executive Director at CCAC. Joined Josh Finch, the Board President, and Brandon, Board Member. We are seeking $37,000 for operational expenses to kind of get us through the down times here as we start to close down the park for the CCAC. And I did resubmit the new paperwork with updated numbers and figures. So, I will take questions, hopefully that we can answer. That transition from Carl to myself is ongoing, so we're moving forward as much as we can.
So you're saying you did send out another?
Yeah, I passed it out this morning.
Yeah, he handed it out.
Did I get one?
It should be in your staff.
I have my stacks. Okay.
So being our representative on the board, or one of our representatives on the board, I can tell you that from 19 weather issues, and I think I've been there since 19, so maybe I'm the rain that's fallen on the board, I don't know.
You're the bad luck.
Yeah, I'm the bad guy, but 19 was a lousy year with weather, rainouts, tournament cancellations, those kind of things. 20, of course, with COVID. You know, Carl did a good job with cutting expenses to try to minimize, but still the facility operated at loss.
Correct.
And generally the cycle is, and I don't pretend to be an expert, having only been on there a couple of years, but in the winter, the CCAC draws on its line of credit to get through the winter. And then in the spring, tournament season kicks off and away we go, and dollars start flowing. They pay the line of credit off and you continue to operate. There have been repeated requests and things that we have granted for infrastructure improvements, those kind of things at the CCAC, that we've granted some. We did the bathroom retrofit. There's a lot of things that need to be taken care of at the CCAC. So why the history lesson? Well, if in the fall of 18 you went through and you drew on your line of credit, and then 19 was a lousy year and you lost money, you never repaid your line of credit, you extended your line of credit. Have the same thing coming into the end of 19, now with COVID, right? Cancellation. So it's not just 1 year, 2 years of bad times, it's multiple years of bad times. And it's funny, we've had some pretty lively discussions at the board about, you know, should we get a grant writer? Should we request more funding from the KCCRVC? Mark, you're on the board, why haven't you brought it up? Well, I'm bringing it up now. Okay, so for years we have applied $40,000 a year for operational expenses for the CCAC. We're in a repetitive cycle of negative cash flow, let's put it that way, at the CCAC. So I proposed with our board, hey, I have no problem pleading the case with the commission to increase our funding for the CCAC going forward. It's not on this specific grant request, but this grant request is part of that. They're negative right now, going into the winter already. So, you know, in our board meeting, suggested to Mike, hey, we've got funding available, dollars left to spend in 21. Go ahead and request and we'll talk about it. I'm not guaranteeing it's going to happen because there's 7 of us on the board. We'll vote on that. But for going forward for our budgeting purposes, we have not allocated. We've got a fixed amount, but it's not specific for grants for next year. But I would expect next year to see Mike come in and request more funding than the $40,000 a year that we've done. Is that $60,000? Is that $70,000? I don't know the right number for that, but it needs to be more than $40,000 per year. And then I'm done with that. I would support this grant. Obviously, I'm on that board. I see the financials and the stress that they're in. We've already had some discussion here about a potential merger with the YMCA that is still on the table. It's not finalized. We are, in fact, as a board, voting the end of this month.
Yeah,
To
November
say yea or
22nd.
nay. We're going to move forward or not. We've been ongoing negotiations behind the scenes. I'm in favor of this grant, but I'm not in favor of this grant if the merger goes forward, because we're funding, you know, if the debt is already out there and well known, because the YMCA has done their due diligence to where if that merger goes forward, if we approve this grant, to where these funds come back. And then I've also conveyed at our board, that to the Y, that they would need to come and request operational funding each year as the CCAC, because remember, CCAC would no longer be in existence. They would be, as an individual entity, it would be part of the Y. The Y would have to come and request funding. And again, it's just like anybody else with a grant request, they would come here and request those funds. So, you know, I think that the CCAC does great things for our community. It's been an independent entity for a long period of time. And I wish that I had a year ago been a little more, hey, we need to bump up the dollars that we're contributing here, but I didn't. So I'm doing that now. And part of that is Mike put in a request for a grant to help you get through the rough times right now. And then for future, request more funding from the commission. So I know that's a big bunch of stuff with a grant request for 37, but I think it's important that we all have the background. And we've seen the emails. I mean, I've kept you guys in the loop on where this is going and the discussions that we've had. And I know where, through individual conversations with each of you, we've had more leaning towards remain independent than approval to go forward with a merger. But each of us would make our own decision on that as far as funding goes, if the Y came to us for funding as a merged entity for the CCAC.
Okay, there's a lot of issues there.
Yes.
As far as this 37,000, Kathy, have I always not heard that this is, CCAC is the biggest draw to the community?
It is, from
And
March.
that's-
From the hotel?
I'll speak on that. We just did numbers somewhat this morning. Through our 3 hot, busy months, we had calculated somewhere between 13,000 people came through our park this summer, with probably about 70% staying in hotels.
13,000 total or a month?
13,000 total.
Total.
Yeah. Between the 3 months. That's just a 3-month period.
And I would say your people that stay is closer to 80 or 85%.
Yeah, we're roughly going by based on numbers, 70%, but it could be higher, absolutely. And I will say this, I just got back from Florida for the NSA BPA National Convention.
Congratulations on getting your
Yes.
award.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
But more importantly, CCAC-wise, we have been awarded 3 tournaments for next year.
Nice.
So we'll do a BPA World Series, a fast pitch, and we've also got, end of August, be the first time the Women's Adult World Series will be here too.
Is that the end of August? Or?
Yep, end of August. That'll be I've been told between 22 and 28 adult women's teams from Indiana, Michigan, Kentucky, Illinois, and Ohio. So that'll be added new this year to CCAC.
So yes, my point is that they bring the money into us that allows us to fund everybody else. So I don't have a problem backing this request with the contingency that
Right.
your
Totally
meeting is
understand.
when, what, the
November 22nd.
November 22nd?
November 22nd is the board
So
meeting.
we would
We would
wait to
just not,
see how you
we would just
decide.
not issue the money until after the vote.
Well,
Correct, I totally understand.
it is a motion.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Motion passed.
so yes on that. Now, let's talk about the why.
Okay. I will turn that over to the board, so I'm at the mercy of them. They're my voice on that, I don't.
Good point.
All right, I'll step in on that. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Josh Finch. I am the president of the board this year. And Brandon's here. He was the previous president. He's a non-voting member this year, and that will be my role next year, as I'll term limit out for 1 year. So obviously a lot to do here in the last couple of months for me. They didn't make it easy on me, and I couldn't just ride out my last couple months, of course. But obviously, Mark kind of gave you a little bit of a history lesson. We're at a crossroads. Have been for about a year. We were limping by, getting close to breaking even, but usually in the red, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, leading up to essentially 2019, which again, that was, if you guys remember, more or less every tournament we had got rained out. So you get $20,000 from a tournament, you issue credits back, so you lose all your cash flow. 2020, for obvious reasons, right? And then 2021, we actually had an okay year, but we're playing catch up from 2 years. And when you're running at a negative budget every year, trying to play catch up from 2 years is an incredibly challenging thing to do. Coupling that with executive director turnover, you know, there are challenges there. So, needless to say, we decided to look around for some additional resources. And that kind of landed us with the YMCA. We've been talking about it for about a year as a board. We've been all in on the merger, we've been all out on it, and everywhere in between. And so, I can't speak for the entire board, but we certainly don't have our minds made up, and I think there's gonna be a lot of discussion here in a couple of weeks. But we didn't have a choice. We needed to determine other factors to increase our income. Otherwise, we were gonna get into a hole that we probably wouldn't be able to dig ourselves out of. Getting awarded the tournament, great news. Just heard about that this morning from Mike. We estimate that's gonna probably bring in around $20,000 in income and revenue. We'll still be about $30,000 in the hole next year. So you can do the quick math. We're around a negative $50,000 budget next year. So, and that's operating about as lean as we possibly can. And you hope and you pray that we don't have a tournament rained out, because 50 could turn into 75 really fast with one rain out. So, you know, Mother Nature also doesn't always help our cause. So with that said, all of that to be said, I've reached out to other community leaders, other granting type organizations, and you know what we're up against. Well, I jumped into that a little too quickly. Most other parks in the state and even regionally, surrounding states are municipally owned. We're not, obviously. So when you have a municipally owned park, the local taxpayer money is supplementing a lot of that, right? And they can usually afford to have a rained out tournament or have an executive director leave, or, you know, have a COVID year. All that stuff doesn't really matter to them nearly as much as it does for us. So we feel the impact about 5x on that. So because we don't have that, you know, we've leaned hard on you guys over the years, so thank you for your ongoing support. We do appreciate that. We've leaned on K21 Foundation, numerous places around the community. So here we are at a crossroads, and so I kind of took it upon myself to try to make a few phone calls around the community to determine what we could do. How can we keep the CCAC as a standalone entity and you know, financially whole? I have not, I'm not going to get into specifics of that, but I have not gotten a lot of positive feedback. I'll leave it at that from other organizations in the community financially. And so,
Just unclear, positive, meaning people don't want to support
They didn't
it.
want to contribute.
They don't.
no additional contributions. Not that they're not contributing already, but nothing additional. I'll say that. So, the only entity that I've spoken to, the organization that I've spoken to that is willing to contribute more is you all. So thank you. First off, I want to make sure I'm very clear on that. We greatly appreciate your ongoing support and potential further support. With that said, it's still going to be incredibly challenging for us, even if we have a $0, you know, maybe we're in the black, maybe we make $1,000. That's huge, and that'll be the first time probably in 8 or 10 years that's happened. But there's still going to be a huge struggle for capital improvements. We have some soccer fields that need 6 figures worth of improvements. We have some equipment that is going to be just a huge asset for our ball diamonds. Very expensive piece of equipment, but it would be a tremendous asset at the park. So things like that we really, I'll use the word need, not even want, that we really need to do to continue to be competitive with these municipally owned parks. we're really gonna fall short of, even if we have a break-even budget. So, I don't have a number. I'm not gonna give you guys a number. I want you to be able to try to discuss that as a group. But, and I know, with all due respect, everybody else you support, because I know there's a lot of people here that come to you all. I do feel that, without being able to get some, significant, financial increase in support, we may not have another choice but to move forward with a merger. I hate to make it sound grim, but quite frankly, that's the circumstance we're in. So, I can answer any questions, otherwise I'll let Brandon give his 2 cents.
What's your conversation been with City of Warsaw and Kosciuszko County government?
Yeah, I'd obviously spoken to both of them. I'm on the city council, so a little bit of a conflict for me to be able to talk about that specifically, so I'll kind of choose my words carefully, but there hasn't been a very strong support to provide significant additional funding.
Although Josh, there was a grant approved for 21,000, correct?
That's our annual giving that the city typically gives, which I think we've increased that. We increased it $1,000. It was about all we could muster, I guess, but the city did increase their giving from 20 to 21,000. They give that out in 2 disbursements through the year to help with operating funds, but I hope that answers your question. I'm trying not to be too specific.
Yeah,
but
I'm more concerned about Kosciuszko County. I mean, you've had conversations?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And there's no apparent interest? I don't want to put you on the spot.
Yeah, no. I'm just trying to.
I mean, to me, that's going to be the only salvation.
This isn't an individual problem, and I didn't speak to the entire council or the entire group of commissioners, so I don't want to mention names specifically because that's not fair to them. But I was told that if we applied for some money through the ARPA, which is the Build Back Better stuff through the Biden administration, that the local counties and cities got, that it would be about a 3 out of 10 likelihood that we would get that potential funding approved. And I don't really like those odds.
No.
Okay, but that was speaking to one individual of the.
There were multiple individuals there throughout the county. It was more than one.
All right, so for me, it's 2 questions. One is funding, but another is the sense of does government, community, do we want to give up that facility?
I got two answers. I got 2 answers from the people that I've talked to. One set of people don't want to relinquish control and want to see the park remain as it is, status quo. The other set of people said that what they'd really like to see out there would be a long-term solution, which would be a multi-sport facility. Which obviously, when Carl was here, we did go down that path, and we were 100 years away from raising enough funds to get that built. So, certain people in the community think that that's going to be the linchpin for the CCAC and its future, livelihood, and others think that operating status quo and continuing to stick with the mission of the park. Not that the building wouldn't still allow us to accomplish our mission, but some people are, it's split. Some people want the building and they think that we need to get additional resources to try to make that happen in the next 5, 8, 10, 12 years, and then short to intermediate term, and then other people want to see us remain status quo. So I haven't gotten a whole lot of one-sided strong answers, honestly. It's been just about like our board. We're split, I would say. Or not, maybe not split, but just we go back and forth on what is the best thing to do. So
I wanted to bring up, I'm not knowledgeable about this, but this was something that was brought up at one point, was why is this not a municipal park? And it's because we didn't have a city park.
We don't have a park system.
So there was talk about maybe we would get one and we could fund you until that was
Uh-huh.
a thing.
Mhm.
So was there any conversation about that with Carl and the,
That's a little outside my wheelhouse, obviously.
okay, well, Brandon looks like he knows maybe.
Well, I mean, there was talk about it.
There was, okay.
During our commission meeting, I think it was 3 months ago, I think.
Yeah, it just sounded like such a good
when we talked.
solution.
It did sound like a great solution. The unfortunate thing is that I don't know that there was a whole lot of support from the county on that.
Oh, okay.
So that was, that's the major part of it is,
Okay.
if there's not that support there, we've got to figure out how to get that support, I think. Obviously, I think, that's another avenue that we can look at.
Okay.
For
What was
sure.
the deterrent? Why were they not interested?
I don't think it's ever come up.
I don't think
At the, I mean, we've had discussion about it here. I don't know that it's ever been brought to a head with the commissioners, and we can't speak for them, the council. Whoever would decide we're gonna have a park, the problem, Tammy, is that that's a long-term solution. It's not gonna fix the current need.
Right.
That's the bottom line.
Even if they were, and this is arbitrary, so, media, please don't quote me on this, but I'm just kind of throwing a timeline out there, right? Is even if they were to approve that at the start of 2022, to be able to take on a property like that may be 5 or 10 years down the line,
Okay.
even after establishing a park.
Like I said, I'm not knowledgeable
So-
about this
So-
subject. I
Right,
just,
but again,
financials,
that's all
you're
county,
explaining to
that's a
us.
county decision.
yeah.
We might be able to help enough until we got to that point. So I'm just curious if anybody's even went to present it.
Oh, okay.
Is there somebody?
Quick question. I've been involved in some of the forward Kosciuszko stuff. I just wonder if that tide is changing. Because one of the recent meetings I was at, and the next two workshops, the open houses that they're having, they're going to be talking about some of these things. But from what we gathered from the public input, 1 in 4 of the public input comments were about parks and recreation.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's starting to change to where could CCAC eventually become a county park, especially if you look at.
That's why I'm wondering who would that be and who needs to make that presentation?
Trust land along the river.
Like I'm hearing we haven't talked about.
Yeah.
I'm kind of hearing we haven't presented it to them, so how do we know if we don't ask?
And then to on the town hall and on the Syracuse chamber, it's to present the findings of the initial feedback.
So any of your board members can make that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Us as KCB, we're going to go support that with our board members at those meetings. So I encourage your board to do the same thing, because we all have to team together to go to there to get a county park support, because we're all fighting the same battles on our different organizations.
And I mean, it would be a perfect location for that county park to start with, especially with the trailhead right there and everything going with the bicycles and everything that we talked about before.
It'd be great for the future.
I remember like 3 months ago, everybody was totally excited about it. We were building a city out there. It was amazing. So, but, that would be very helpful. And I think, with regards to Mike coming in and the energy is a little different this year. Carl did a fantastic job for a lot of years. But as you know, when new blood comes in, they have new energy, they have new things, they have new ideas. And we have a lot of that going for us right now. So I feel like the board is understanding that and understanding that we might just talk about having the why on the back burner for a little while as well. So in saying that, that's where we're hoping that we'll get more funding from you, and we'll be asking more from you in the future, because as you've all told us, is 70% draw for the community for this money comes from CCAC. As you guys know, the tournaments are huge for overnight stays. That's what it is. Lake City Skiers does a great job as well, but we're the next draw. So I would appreciate any type of help going forward, whichever way we decide to go as a board in the next couple weeks, and look at that for us. Okay.
Thank you, Brandon.
In line with that, part of the additional funding, at our board meetings, we've had a lot of discussion about grant writing. Carl's out mowing the grass, he's not managing. I mean, he couldn't, because as Josh mentioned, the expenses have been cut to a minimum. You're operating with minimal staff, you still got to get the work done.
Right.
So there are opportunities for grants. Are we going to be 100% successful? Probably not. But if you get, excuse me, get one, it helps fund. So we may see requests for, hey, we want to do a grant writer, or if any of us want to write a grant. It's not that big a deal to write one.
Right.
It's time and energy, that's all.
So we have a couple of people on the board as well that are very interested in helping out with that. So that has come up in the last few months as well. So there is some different energy that I will say that has been coming. And I'm not trying to say anything that, you know, Josh was being, as you said, kind of negative about the whole thing, but it was very grim. And I think it still could be very grim with if a couple things happen, if you know, rainouts happen and some other things happen, it could be very bad. But there is some different energy that I do want to say that I'm pretty excited about as the future goes. So.
Good. Mike, I have a couple ideas for you, not here, but
Sure.
I want to have a meeting because I have a couple ideas.
I mean, some of the things that Brandon's touched on that I've already started looking into, I'm looking into a partnership with the NFL for youth flag football. We've already signed an agreement for a live streaming. It's at zero cost to us. They install, they maintain. We do a monthly subscription, which the CCAC would gain 33% of this monthly subscription sales. So there are things that I'm looking at to do our part and generate more income. We've changed the gate fee process for the baseball events. In the past, it's been a flat fee, teams pay, and everyone comes in free. We're going back to a gate taker, cash, or we're gaining our income. We're dictating who pays, who doesn't. It's on a flat rate. So we're hoping that allows us to gain more money that way. So I'm brainstorming constantly of trying to figure out ways to do our part as a park to generate more income, so where we don't have to rely solely on you guys just to have us survive. So we're trying to do our part.
Good, thank you.
And I don't know that everybody's aware about some of the fundraisers you do, whether it's the fights or.
Yeah, we do wrestling twice a month, professional wrestling that comes in, rents the indoor facility. Of course, we gain concession sales and the rental fees from that as well. We just did my big thing that I've tried to harp is community involvement more from the CCAC. We did a trunk or treat. Mark was gracious enough to help sponsor. We probably had 300 kids come through the park getting candy. Our next goal and mission is to have an Easter egg hunt at the park for the community. We're looking at a community garage sale in the indoor facility. The more I talk to people and reaching out to people about the CCAC, it's been a negative community involvement. They seem to think CCAC has been nothing more than a tournament weekend event facility. I want to change that perception. I want Kosciuszko County people to be involved. I want to be involved in helping them. So I think community involvement will help change the light of how they look at us and be more willing to help us. So that's my goal. We'll talk.
Yeah, and you know, and I can remember I was at a meeting in January when some of this started, and there was a dire sense with Carl's coming. What's the word? There's the word I'm missing, but anyway, that they knew he was going to retire, and there was a concern of the CCAC board is, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? And I feel, and I'm sure the board does, that with Mike here and his energy and ideas, it isn't as dire as we thought in January, and there's hope. And I personally think this is not the time to give up the ship.
I agree.
And most concerning to me is the value of that land, and that we would just let it be absorbed by the Y. And I know I've said it before that we've donated already $1 million to that park, and what we get from you and the community gets from you, there's no, from the documents I've seen, there's no guarantees that that's going to continue with the Y, and so it frightens me to death, the merger idea.
I think it's tough because I came in so late in this process with the Y, so it's hard to sell ideas in a short period of time on the what ifs and hopes. So I'm at the mercy of the board. I don't have a vote, so you know, I want to do a community day, food trucks and vendors and things out the park. So many people, like when we went through a hiring of maintenance staff, we had to interview people and they didn't realize we had anything past the parking lot. They had no clue what was behind the offices. They had no clue we had fields. I mean, it's tough to sell something when people don't realize we're out there.
Yeah, I already appreciate all the extra Facebook posts that you.
Oh, we stepped up social media. Yeah, the message board out front. That's one of my big goals is promote. Interact. I was fortunate enough to have an interview with Ink Free News. That got some feedback and some energy going. So I'm definitely trying to step up and do my part to make your part easier.
Okay, I would like to suggest that we, as a commission, send a message as they deliberate this at the end of the month. Do we have a singular voice to say to their board that we don't, what our feeling is on the Y merger?
I think the singular voice is right there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm speaking it, but if you wanted to send a letter or something, I think a letter of support or whatever would be helpful. I mean, because
Mark's made himself very clear about, he's done a great job communicating speaking for the other 6 of you at our meetings. I don't think that, yes, I 100% can guarantee that, yes. Everyone's listening and, yeah.
We're not worried about that, but I wanted you to hear that it's not just Mark.
Of course,
He is speaking for us,
Yeah.
and I think there is value in you knowing that I believe all of us at the
As a
table-
board, maybe we should.
That's what I'm thinking.
I think send a letter of support.
From our board that
Because that is one of the hesitancies.
Yeah.
As I talked about financially, I know we can't commit because we have to get a grant request and do it. But something just worded that we're,
I agree.
committed to financially supporting to remain as an individual entity, something like that.
Right.
To where it's not a specific dollar amount, because obviously we have to go through the grant request. It's gotta be a public piece, all those things have to happen, but that we're in support of it remaining a single entity. I think it'd be helpful.
So moved that we write this letter.
Okay.
What I can say for the help from you guys I do need is one of your appointees is up at the end of the year for the board members. We do need an appointee.
Are you sure? Because
Terry Hines.
I spoke to him last night about it, and he thought he still had another year or two.
I'll confirm.
Okay.
But yeah.
That's exactly.
We do have a large turnover of the board this year as well, so we will be searching for new people to join. I think we have like 6 members of our board that's.
Yeah, the board is about 50% turnover this year.
Yeah, so.
That's not really good, but,
No, it's not.
No, but it gives me a chance to kind of get
The
some
good
new
thing
fresh
is we've
blood.
got, I mean, Brandon has been on, he'll be back. Josh will remain as a non-voting member so that history isn't lost as we go, but.
There's a couple long-term history people that are up this year, which is Mike Stetzel and Dave Williams, and they've both been on for 16 plus years, both of them. So some of that will.
well, as we're talking about this, Kathy and I did have a chat, and she's willing to take on that other position to replace Terry. So if you can just validate, or, just.
I will
confirm, it's
confirm,
really-
sure.
That's what I thought I knew, and then Terry said no.
If
so.
not, there are other spots of open that we can maybe squeeze her in.
Actually, yes, absolutely.
There's other positions.
there's some at-large
just
seats.
There's other organizations and there's at large, so.
And then also, I think Rachel her last year is this next
There's a
year.
hotel.
As a hotelier as well.
As 22 is her last year?
22 is her last year,
Okay.
so. But if that doesn't happen right away.
Okay, well,
And we're also losing one we've lost CVB. Yeah.
So Jill
So-
will replace that.
That was believing. Colton. There we go. Mitchell. There we go. Mitchell. Randall. Yeah, Mitchell.
Yeah, Mitchell's cool.
And as I read your bylaws or somebody's bylaws, it doesn't have to be a staff member, Jill, it just needs to be a representative of the
Yeah, an
CBD. So it could be
appointee
a board
of-
member that shows interest in it.
Okay.
We need passion, the problem with boards, so.
Yeah, because I believe he said November is his last meeting.
Yeah, he's there.
Maybe one of you guys tell us how that came about, that their bylaws dictate under organizations serving, what's the,
Yeah, let's try on that.
no, my bylaws, because they may say someone has to serve a
Yeah.
line doesn't mean they have to honor that. I was just wondering about the history. Out of curiosity.
I believe
I'm
that
sure
was.
it was started
It
that
was
way.
started that
Yeah,
way.
I'm sure
It was started
And
that way for a reason, because
it
it was
was-
a new entity and they wanted to
And,
make sure
and
there
the
was
purpose,
representation, I'm
yeah, and the
sure.
purpose of the CCAC stated was to bring tourism in, so it makes sense to
Exactly.
have tourism involved in that process.
Right.
So it makes all sense. I guess my concern is, let's talk about the land restriction, because you know how I feel about that.
The land restriction has been delivered. We don't have any, we don't have any news on the response from that as of right now. So.
Well, let's
we-
fill in everybody else.
Okay, so we gave a agreement for a 15-year land deed restriction that they can't do anything different than what the CCAC does now.
If the facilities were to merge, the current
They-
use has to remain for 15 years.
When did you give them that?
Last week, I believe.
So the last 2 weeks.
Was it 2 weeks ago?
Probably right around, just before Halloween. It was right after, immediately after our last board meeting, which was October 25th, I believe.
Isn't that a red flag that they haven't responded back?
Not necessarily, because they have to present that to their board, and they may not have had a board meeting yet, so.
More concerning was that their initial presentation was 5 years. Was it not?
So I will clear that up. This, again, I'm telling you what I've been told, so I don't know other than what I've been told, but we, as a CCAC board, did not give them a specific timeline that we wanted. So we didn't say 15, 20, 30 years, whatever the number was. So they sought their legal counsel, and he said, well, just do 5 years then, because we didn't give a timeline. I don't necessarily know if that means, we'll find out soon, but I don't know if that means that they're dead set on a 5-year timeline, or if that was just simply what they were given by their legal counsel. So, but the language within it's just simply stated as a covenant, that our legal counsel drew up for us, is that it's a 15-year restriction, so no sale of the property could be made within that 15-year period. And also, if a merger did happen and the YMCA was not using the property for the intended use of the CCAC's mission, that property would also then be, able to revert back. So the merger would be null and void at that point. So not only would they not be able to sell the property, they would also have to be able to use it for the intended purposes of the park.
Good. That's what you're asking for, but you don't know.
That's what
We, as a board, if a merger was to happen, that would be a non-negotiable, and we already approved that and sent it to them. We're waiting for their feedback.
That could really get interesting down the road.
It really
Sure.
would.
Yeah, really.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
And that is what it is for us. We look at that as a $2 million piece of land with facilities and everything that would be, in effect, just giving to the Y with no assurances. There haven't been assurances up to this point that they would continue the tournaments, continue it as a recreational property for the benefit of the community. Okay, so we stand united, is that what I hear?
Yes,
That
we do.
We're sending the message that we're not in favor.
And do I hear you're going to write the letter?
yeah,
Huh?
yeah,
Are you going to?
loud and clear.
You're clear?
Yeah,
Okay.
obviously, please send the letter. We'll make sure that that's represented appropriately at the meeting and read and passed along to everyone so they can read it and see it as well. We want to make sure that your opinion and recommendation is given to everyone on the board.
And we understand that everybody at that board comes to the table with a different perspective, but our two people are coming representing our perspective, and that's how our income is generated. So of course, we're going to feel very strongly about this. It just makes
yeah.
sense.
Of course. Yep.
And I would think the hoteliers would feel the same way. Yes, Kathy? Yes.
Okay.
Is there anything else you need from us?
Question, Joe?
I don't think so. Thanks for your time and I was a little grim earlier. Mike's doing an outstanding job. I mean, he really is. He's
I can tell he
fantastic.
is.
But I did want to make the situation realistic for you all, but Mike is doing a tremendous job.
All right, but let's, to the beginning of this story, you mentioned that, or at least it sounded like you're saying that the CCAC went to the Y. Is that the truth? Because I've heard conflicting stories on that then.
Brandon would be able to answer that better than I would.
You know, honestly, when I think this was kind of just talked about in the backside, I don't know that the why came to the CCAC and the CCAC went to the, it was really kind of a togetherness with the YMCA board member that serves on the CCAC as well, which I think that kind of started a lot of the conversation.
All right, so but there was not a point that at a CCAC board meeting, you directed somebody to go to the Y to make this?
No,
Okay.
no, we actually just kind of talked about this together.
And I heard it from Jim Swanson, that first meeting. Mark, were you, that first meeting we had with Jim in January?
Yes.
I don't know if you didn't
I was.
arrive right away, but the way he told the story was that the community, some of the executives in the community wanted to reduce the number of not-for-profits. And so they were encouraging that if more not-for-profits could join up, then they wouldn't be receiving as many requests for funding. And when I asked him what started this, that is how he responded.
I wasn't made aware of that. I was made aware of, what do you think our synergies would be with CCAC and the Y merging? And that conversation started with probably 2 or 3 other people, and that was discussed from there. In my stance as past president, when Carl was talking about leaving, that was the benefit that I was seeing from the Y. I was seeing the benefit of structured, people coming up through the ranks, and we got a little.
Well, it's changed. Now
and that's kind of changed.
Years, how are we gonna run it?
Exactly.
As a nonprofit, as
Right.
a volunteer board.
As a volunteer board,
Without somebody sitting there running with it.
I have operations background. I could go out there and run it, but that's not what I'm doing. I mean, that's not what I'm on this board for. So, that was what was brought up originally and kind of went from there. And, honestly, I think, can I say this? It woke everybody up a little bit, of what the CCAC means to the community, what it means to you as a commission, where the money and the funding come from. And I think it's really started a lot of dialogue. And I think Mark hit it right the other day when we were talking is, we've always kind of been this volunteer board and kind of status quo, and everything's kind of been just fine and everything's been running well. And now we've had some tough discussions, and actually had some board discussions, which has not really ever happened in the 6 years that I've been on the board. So I think this brings a lot to everybody, not just people on the board, but people in the community as well. I think it's really showed some light of what kind of an actual park we have out there and what we do as for the community. So
and to Kathy's point, I know the county is discussing a county parks department, and and we don't want. To me, that's a big deal. They need to do that, and there's dialogue there. And so, you can't just hit them then with this idea right off the bat. That'll scare them into no department, because we need it for the bicyclist people, that county park, so that they can get grant funding and all that. And to me, we've opened that door. I think it's going to be a successful opening of that door, and then we can proceed with this. So I don't want you to get discouraged because a couple people, you might hear that, no, we're not, the door's not open yet. Okay.
You have to take that into consideration.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's hope
That's when
there.
you pound back. You got to have some presentation to go at them and tell them why.
well, we appreciate the information that you've given us, because we're going to take that for sure.
Yeah.
And
Have
go
they
with
done
that.
a Warsaw meeting already and I missed it, the forward thing?
We've had a couple meetings here, and then
Okay.
the phase that they're in right now is releasing what has been the public input from March until October.
Okay.
Thank you, Jen.
Again, thank you very much for all
Thank
your
you.
support. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
And do you want us to get rid of Mark? Is he too mouthy? After the meeting?
No.
I want more marks.
Sold.
We know he's mouthy.
Did you sign up to take all this?
We like him that way.
What's that?
Did you sign up to take all this abuse?
Yes, I did.
Score.
Okay, Jill, it's your turn.
Hello. Jenna is here as a board member. Tell them where you work and your last name. She works at the Pew, Jenna Foss, and she 3 years now? Yeah, going into her 3rd year as a board member. And then Jennifer is here, but she took a quick break. And this is Laura Rothar, and she is our new marketing communications manager. She is a 2020 graduate of Grace College. She's from Ohio, but as a transplant, she came to school here and ended up loving living here. She has worked for Clear Vision Media recently for a year, and in that role did some work for the Steuben County Tourism Bureau and their website and other things. A lot of big search engine optimization background. Her degree is in visual communications, and she has a minor in photography and creative writing. And I have contracted with her previously to help writing with our visitor guide and our website. She's done a stellar job writing for a lot of our descriptions on our website previously. 3rd day on the job. Yesterday was our annual board retreat, so this week has been consumed with all this. So Monday we will be hitting it hard. We're very thankful to Mitchell, as you know, is very stellar. He came in Monday night, been doing some training with her. Every aspect of his job, he did educational videos on to help us with little downtime, getting her acclimated to everything. Priorities for me that I'm giving her is website, social media, and then our band Wango passes, continuing getting those built out for a big launch for our next season. So we're moving along, and I wanted to give you a little update on the travel industry. I think it's important that all of us are aware of those pulses. I really try to follow the one consistent research model, Destinations Analyst. And as of November 1st, outlook for travel is positive. We all know people are getting back on the move. 83% of Americans have trips planned in the next 3 months. Nearly 70% high degree of excitement to visit somewhere new, which converts to hopefully good hotel performance from that if we can get people visiting new places. Business and conventions, sports, tourism, and group meetings, travel is rebounding. They're still a little leery, and rebound means maybe 10 percentage points up from the previous weeks. And that is a trajectory for a 2022 return, but they think that'll continue to change here as we move through the winter. Increased travel advertising opportunities to be more inclusionary. That's a big thing in our industry right now. 46% of residents are open to visitors in their communities. Keep in mind, that's not our community. This is a poll that they do of about 1,500 people, and I think that's still low for our community. I think it's been overall pretty welcoming to have people back into our businesses and our restaurants and our attractions. Day trips are up from previous numbers due to the low Delta variant concerns. So we're still focusing in day trip as well as overnight. Overnight, it's tough to draw this time of year. As you know, we're not quite the winter destination, but we keep that message out there. And despite strong desire to travel, the only thing keeping people back mostly is not pandemic related anymore, but high prices. So that uncertainty of the future, maybe another uptick, is making people a little more conservative in their spending. And Kate County is still positioned well as outdoor travel, things to do, outdoor recreation trips are planning or continue to be on the increase. So hopefully we are lucky in that sense. I failed at getting these to you via email, except for Kathy. She's already got hers. They fold out. That's the big occupancy report. Keep in mind, it looks like we're trending below the 6 segments that we invest in, which is the U.S. to compare to Indiana, Northern Indiana, us, and I believe Fort Wayne and Elkhart I have on there. But not all our hotels are submitting the information. So I think that we're doing better. I talked to another hotelier, Kathy, I'd be interested if, did you get a copy?
I didn't take a copy, I have it in my.
Is there an extra one? Yeah, there's a, if you look at October and Howard unfold it, and October will be on the left, Kathy. Oh,
That's
okay.
not- huh?
No, unfold it. I'm sorry.
No,
Yeah.
not October.
And I think it's, on the back, you guys, October, on the back. And not October, September, because I don't have October yet. It comes about the middle of the month in November. But for September, I still think that looks kind of low. Another hotelier thought it's actually a bit higher than that. Now, this data's from.
That's pretty accurate data.
Pretty, you think it
but
is?
October's towards 65.
That's what you've.
It is.
And I haven't got my reports yet. How come I don't get them till the middle of
I
the
don't
month?
have it yet, but I'm telling you.
That's what you're
about
saying
where
for
I'm at,
you.
yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, and that's what I think she was
October
implying
was a really
also.
good month. November's trending really well, so's December.
So we're kind of getting there, and I like looking at the average daily room rates. I think our hoteliers and our grouping work well together it seems to appear on keeping those common prices. I have heard that maybe in Plymouth and Columbia City, they charge less, but they don't have as big of a pool of our hotels together to work together on pricing. So we all remain competitive in that sense. So it's kind of interesting. Again, our private hotels in the north part of the county do not report into that. And one of them's a little sporadic, but it helps give us a picture, especially on even the revenue per room. I'm glad to see that coming back up for our hoteliers. We're very fortunate. No one closed.
But yeah.
Yes, it's not, and we do have more rooms now. We market nearly 1,000 rooms.
Occupancy's coming back.
Yes.
Rates not,
Right.
so not as quickly.
Build it and they will come.
Oh, I
That's the
know,
plan,
that's
right?
the plan.
And again, we struggle with that whole home share, right? We see the money coming in through that with innkeeper's tax. Visitors want that, but we're also here to represent our hoteliers. So try and balance those messaging. What do visitors want to get them here? Because then they're spending those secondary dollars while they're here. So,
Well, that's the piece with
Yeah.
what we're doing with lakes and streams. I mean, that's the Airbnb stuff, that's the other side.
right.
So we're funding that. I
Right.
mean, bottom line, by funding things that promote the activities that we have here, we're funding those Airbnbs as well,
Right.
which is what, 220 of the 650 we received this
Right.
year is Airbnb, which again, until the state instituted that collection,
Right.
we were getting how much? So where would we be if that wasn't
Right.
in place?
July
So-
1st, 2019, one of the best things that happened was that making that happen.
Yep, it
So
was.
I'm optimistic about our future. We're getting there, as long as we don't go backwards in any way with COVID and rebuild upon each other. I think our communities really come together to support one another. And I've even seen some attractions, advertising with others, tagging on, do this if you're here for us. And so it's really encouraging and positive in that way. Just a couple other updates for you. The sports calculator, I sent you that report. I am going to get with Mike out at CCAC and Chad now knows for any event that they have, what that you need to compile for us to put that in that sports calculator. We'll do it for them. It was super simple. We organized the training that Chad went through. And it doesn't have to be just where a grant's given out from Sports in Indiana. It could be any sporting event. So we can even do it for Lake City
Well, I'm gonna
skiers.
say, you should
Yes,
work
so
with Chuck.
we're gonna
and
get with
that for any
Chuck.
Tournaments, so you
Yep,
can get an idea.
and the way the calculator works real quick is they look at destination marketing organizations across the country and sporting venues. And then these tourism economic companies, they put these formulas together based on previous activities. So when we put in spectators and all this data, it will give us the benchmarks, if you will, for all that. It's pretty complicated research, but it's pretty solid. Well, some other encouraging news is I am co-oping with Indiana Tourism Association and other visitor bureaus in the state that are under a certain budget for an events calculator. So it doesn't have to be sports related, but we can't afford that on our own. It's through Destinations International. It's big money to have that. Well, they're working with our Indiana Tourism Association to help smaller DMOs in the state where Lakes Festival, we can put that in and you can see what it generates and the economic impact. Right. And so I didn't want to just share that one report. I sent it to you because you're on the CCAC board. I don't know if that's something everyone would like to see. Just for one event, I thought it was very significant. And keep in mind, that was probably a year when it was less.
Yeah. Right.
Just like Chad's number, he didn't have as many spectators as he normally would for that economic impact calculator. So this events calculator be.
So is that this community is inputting information in there, or is this just this thing just has a standard and then you can take the information?
No, Reed would put it in. I would need to train Lake City skiers or the Dixie Festival organizers. You need to get me this, and this data.
Okay, so
I can put it into that calculator, right? The bureau, and it generates a report for everybody.
And there are some benchmarks. It's not going to be all unique just to you because you've got to have some standards.
Right. And that's what they do countrywide, though.
So it's not going to give you. This is exactly where you're at, but it's a better ballpark than we are today, where we're sitting here going, well, if we have a tournament, we fill the hotels.
Right.
That's great.
What does that mean?
What does that mean? Maybe there were 3 weddings going on at the same time, and that's why the hotels were full.
Asking.
So
we'll have the sports calculator through Sports Indiana because that's a whole different data set for sports tourism that they're benchmarking. And then we'll have an events one, and that's your cultural events. Heck, we could do it for Mentones Festival or anyone else we may fund or Pearson. So it just would help them, would help us, help you in your decisions, and nominal cost if we all go in it together with Indiana Tourism Association. I think it was less than $2,000 a year for me to have this, and it will store all the data at the bureau so we could compare year to year. But they have to do their due diligence, so I will need to work with them to get that done. And we need to start next year. Now, we just had one training on this. We're hoping that calculator will be available to us next year as events start, but we obviously don't know for sure. But we probably would put Lake City skiers into the Sports Indiana one because they've also received grants. And repay that membership with Sports Indiana so they can apply for grants. We've gotten some significant funds through that. The membership, I think, is like $600 that repay for them to access those
What I'm
funds.
wondering is, do we, when we're giving out money, have to, make that part of our application process for approval, that you have to participate in garnering that information?
That would
I
help.
think it would be helpful, although, Joe, you're saying it's helpful, but who's now got to train those people? Do you have the resources to train every one of them? Or do it
We don't
yourself?
have the resources, but it's important, so I'll find a way.
I get it, but I
So
agree. I
you
think
doing that, yeah.
that we run it through that calculator, because then that gives us numbers.
Keep asking for
Right, and I
numbers.
think it encourages.
We can set up the program and get them what they need to do to just email us back the numbers as soon as when their event's done. The critical number is them to give a guesstimate if they can, if they don't have tickets. Chuck knows how many people come into Lake City skiers. Spectators was the key.
Yeah.
Then they can pretty much figure out the
Well,
other
sounds like
information.
Mike at the CCAC is gonna start
Right.
a gate ticket.
Yes,
So that's
that's
gonna
what- that's
improve.
what-
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, Joe, to
Oh,
include that,
yeah.
absolutely.
So it's 2 separate ones. So I
Yeah.
need to get with Mike and Chuck, and Chad's already in. He was our guinea pig. Remember, we had talked about doing this. And it took a long time for Sports Indiana to get that calculator fixed. And then we went through training. So he has access, we have access. We could give everyone access. I'm just not,
You
I'll
don't
have
want
to
to lose control of the data yet.
I'll have to investigate that a
Still
little
need
more.
some more proof in
And
that, I think.
people change over, right? And the reason why Chad did was he came along with us to be the example, if you will. Re-entered the data that Carl gave us for the tournament that I gave to you.
Okay.
So anyway, that's exciting. Just to give you an idea, our strategic plan update, yesterday, we are in the middle of a 3-year plan, rolling plan, so every year they revisit that. They will look at a new draft of that at our January meeting, And maybe they'll approve it right then and there. If not, they'll approve it in February, and I'll make sure you get a new updated version of our 2021, 2023 one-page schematic plan. And remember that once they do their plan, I do an annual business and marketing plan on how we're going to meet those initiatives, and then I report to my board quarterly on progress of those initiatives. So we kind of did a refresher on that. Budget 2022 update, we've kind of changed things up a little bit because of last year, something worked well for us, is we will approve our 2022 budget in our January meeting. Remember, we meet the second Tuesday, so it's pretty early in the year. We want to be able to carry cash forward. Last year, we put that in our budget, so that really gives us a better picture. We will know more firmly the total amount of sales for our guides by then, and I will have a full year to look at those other line items to adjust if needed. So January we'll approve, and I'll get it to you right away, the final version, as well as the auditor's office, as always.
And then with that agreement, so we get the budget from you, and then if we can get how the strategic plan is, what your goals are for that year, then that's all put together for us to understand when we go.
Right, and I gave you the plan already. They're just tweaking it, do we change years, do we eliminate? When they looked at it last year, it's a rolling plan, so each year we look at it. So you might have a new update as of January.
Well, I think, anytime you have a plan like 3 or 5 years, that's so broad that, we need to be, narrowing it down. So if you're going to do that, give us specifics for what's going to be happening this year with the budget.
In that version I gave you, see on the left, the one-page schematic, they just and at the top it's 21, 23, they just reviewed for 2022. And then there's some things will be tweaked. Our destination doesn't change a lot, but some initiatives could based on available assets, monetary, resource-wise. And then I will update that plan. That's the staff's plan right there. The one page is the board's strategic plan.
So I didn't see this is the 1820. That was the only thing I saw.
Oh, maybe since last time we met, I knew we were updating, so maybe I didn't send you the 21, 23. I thought I did.
This is what came with your documents, these 2 items.
Oh no, open the big packet. The new one's in there. The 21, 23 is in there, I believe. That might be why I didn't send it separate. It's in the beginning. Maybe page 3, you'll see a new schematic. What's the year of that?
21, 23.
Yeah, it's in the packet. That's why I didn't send it separate. So my plan around that, if they change and decide to change initiatives, our strategies then to execute will change in that packet. So you have the board's plan strategic, ours is the business marketing to meet those goals, and then I report out on our successes. All right, so with the agreement, I'm just gonna wait for a new copy to sign. Is that what you need me to do? Just hang out, or do you have one now, or? I don't care, I just was wondering.
No, we can do it. But,
Oh, and the audit's done. Did you guys hear back? Okay, good.
I have our
Yep.
copies, yeah. I guess I brought up that I really think the agreement, we need to address that more in September. What are we expecting? It's about, it's a contract. It's our expectations for the funding, that when we do it like today, November, she hasn't really seen it, her board hasn't seen it. So to me, it makes sense that really we should be looking at that more in September meeting, so she can have it for her September or October meeting, then we can sign it in November. Does that make sense?
I mean, that makes sense going forward, but this year,
No, I
we
understand, but I'm
can't
saying
recreate,
going-
but sure, next year, I would make sense.
Because right now, you're signing something that, and your board is signing something, you haven't, you basically know what it says, but to me, it's not the right way to handle a contract of this importance, that they should have a chance to see it before.
However you want to do it.
Yeah.
So for next year,
Promise, yeah.
we'll just handle it in September meeting. Okay.
And we don't meet in December, so it does put us in a crunch. We don't meet the months of July and December.
So either you meet the week after us, every month?
We meet, yes, yesterday. We always meet almost, it's exactly in the
close,
same
yeah.
week. One day apart, yeah.
Well, we just need to work out the
Okay.
schedule-wise so that you have that in advance to present it to your board.
I didn't know if you had any questions on the financial reports I sent, or Jennifer, if you want to add anything to my report or anything?
So with Lunar Cow, so the first year it was 61,000. Your contract, is that what it is for each year?
61, the cost?
Yeah.
Well, oh man, the whole paper industry and print industry is flipped upside down. So they're warning us of paper shortages even to get it by March, regardless of what we do. They are honored for that same price. The thing that would change that price is the quantity. And I have ordered 10,000 more for next year because we burned through 40,000 like that. And normally I order 60 to 64, but we lowered it because of last year. We just didn't know with travel how much I'd be able to get out. And we got out all 40. I think we have 2 cases left. And then what I need to honor leads, singles that we mail out in bulk mail.
So it is 61,000 then for this next year. Okay.
Well, no, I'm adding 10,000. That will
To their
change a
cost.
little based on quantity, and they're waiting. Printer quotes are 7 days out. So I won't know that price until they get that document's ready to go to print and they give a quote for within 7 days. It used to be 3 months out, I would have a price. So Lunar Cow's not charging me extra for their design, their sales, whatever, but the printer price could change in that and the quantity.
I see, and that's the part, that was one of my questions. What is part of that Lunar Cow contract? So they do the sales.
They do sales, they do full layout, design,
Uh-huh.
they manage the printing, they find the best printer,
So they do take care of the printing part.
and then
Okay.
the enhanced digital version.
Okay. So, your comment was that, because you didn't have 61,000 in sales this last year, right?
We had, for the current guide that's out right now, was $53,453.
So when you said each copy was costing
88 cents.
That is, understanding that there weren't enough ads placed, and then that would count, like your Julian, what's the name of that company?
Mhm.
Do they, when you say they take care of design, but are you still
Yep.
hiring outsiders to do pictures, do
Mhm.
some of that?
Yep.
So that also goes into the 61,000 plus.
Yep, I have all
mail.
that accounted for in my expenses. Yeah. So like 2018 guide costs 17 cents per guide. 2019 guide costs 26 cents. 2020 costs 31 cents. Lot of variables. 20,000 more guides. So say we did the same quantity for this guide, it would be 59 cents instead of 88, because we did 40 instead of 60,000. So quantity matters. Doing sales in a pandemic year for the first time. And I feel it's an awesome bargain for that enhanced digital version of being able to put
Well-
videos in there, mobile, yeah.
Part of that, as Mark keeps wanting to go more digital, so that's why I'm asking these questions, just so that we have a sense of what that one product is costing with all the costs involved. So then, if you're finding yourself short this year, so why do we put in the Times Union to local people?
Because residents spend $18 million to our attractions and businesses. They have a big impact on helping market. Visiting friends and relatives is Indiana's biggest travel market, so it's important that they can serve that market.
It's just an observation that they're available. I go to Peterson's, I can go to Boathouse and pick one up. To put it in the Times Union where you don't know if those people are really interested or don't already have a copy. When I hear you say that, you're short, And you said that was down from previous years of 4,000.
Yeah, it wasn't very many we sent out, but I felt it's a good investment to get it to our local people. They use those things too, and our advertisers count on us getting it out, but it's a small percentage to do that and get it in the hands of folks. I didn't have anything else unless you guys do.
No,
Anyone else?
I'm good.
All right.
Thanks, Jill.
Yep.
So is the agreement up next?
The
What else?
agreement is up next.
Okay.
What have we got? Oh, yeah.
So, yes, we have the agreement with the CVB, and then we have the agreement with
The auditor's
the
office.
auditor's office.
Is there any change we need to make to that?
With
The auditors?
I think they set the tone on that one.
Yeah, I don't think there's many
They-
options.
They tell us what they're gonna do.
I think here's what we're gonna
And,
do. I mean,
thankfully
because
they-
they're obviously regulated
Yes,
to where
and they didn't take away, last year we lost a lot of their extra services, but this year they didn't take anything else away, so.
So it's basically the same as what we had this year, so then I'll
So
make a
I'm gonna
motion to
start-
approve that agreement as is.
Yeah. Approve and
Second.
sign, and I'll start circulating.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Who made the second on that?
We'll have to sign that.
Ron.
I did.
Okay, yeah, you go ahead and sign that, and then we'll start circulating it. And then the other one would be the agreement with the CVB, and then there were no changes on that once we had the correct.
For this year, but we've got some suggestions for next
For
year.
next year.
So we just need to get them out soon enough to where we can meet
September.
whatever our window is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it all does make sense that it could coincide more with.
Yeah,
Yeah, then that way
agreed.
Jill will have more time.
I mean, we're there with the budget now, so it's nice if we get that one in line too. Because remember, we weren't in line with the budget for a long time, so.
Yeah.
So, all right, so then a motion to sign that agreement. Is there-
I will make a motion that we sign that agreement as presented. The
Okay, I need a
CBD.
second.
Okay.
Ronwell, okay.
Ron's been doing it all day. so-
Ron's doing a great
Yeah.
All in
job.
favor?
We're the motion end of the table down here, right?
All
Yeah,
in
we keep
favor?
things moving.
That motion's been passed.
Sign this one because it's already done.
Okay, okay.
We've already approved the minutes.
We did.
We started with
Yeah.
that.
The meeting dates.
Yes.
Oh.
That's what I was actually doing, was put them in my phone, because I'm guessing that these are okay. Anything that overlaps? Michelle sent them out. If you don't have it in
Oh, I
front of you,
did.
it's January 12th,
Did Michelle send them out?
Yeah.
She
we-
did.
What else? March?
March 9th.
That one
Okay.
depends on my childbirth of grandkids in Phoenix.
Gotcha. May 11th,
That got hidden in one of her emails.
July 13th, September 14th, and November 9th.
Can you attend the meeting virtually?
You know, the last run is a good spot to hold a meeting. That would be my yacht, John, just for you.
I don't know if we can let you up on that.
Virtually?
Virtually?
I don't think so. I don't think our bylaws allow that. Because there have to be public.
Everybody else is.
Yeah, I know. So I guess, unless anybody's got heartache with the meeting dates, I'd make a motion, we approve them as submitted.
Beat Ron.
Did I?
Yeah.
Well, let Ron do it.
No, Ron, he's done enough. Okay. Meeting dates, okay.
What do I put
All
there?
in favor?
Hi.
How's Tammy saying that?
Yeah.
Any opposed? Okay, there we go.
Oh,
Dates are approved. Tammy, you're on. On the last
a
one.
motion passed, sorry.
Yes.
Do you see this back from me? Okay. Any further business before the commission?
Well, crap. Signed on the wrong side.
I did? You told me to put that.
Did I do it? Yeah.
It's your fault.
I know.
Motion to adjourn?
Well, where do we stand on that ground that the Historical Society donated to us?
The Historical Society. Commission.
Oh, out
The
there?
little park out on Old 30.
Oh, yeah. They were gonna give that to us.
Yeah.
Has anything happened?
That originally was the county's to begin with.
Right.
And they give it to the historical society.
Nothing has happened.
I don't know that we can do that.
We can't do it.
No.
That's what I thought was gonna happen.
They're discussing all that.
Okay, so there is discussion going on, but there's nothing we can't accept it on behalf of the county. That's not our
It
position.
would just revert back to the county. 'Cause that's where it went originally. Yeah,
But the county doesn't have to accept it.
because I was involved in that. I negotiated.
Does anyone else look at the dates?
We approved those dates.
But did anybody want to write them in their calendar?
I got them. They're in my phone.
So anyway, to your question, I think it's out there available and it's being,
Okay.
don't
No
That would be
movement.
nice.
don't shake the tree.
Right, it'd
At
be
this
right there
point.
at a trailhead, it'd be perfect, if they could do that.
So John, you want to make that motion to adjourn then?
Yes, make a motion to adjourn.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Sweet.
thank you all for attending.
So